Shalom, everybody.
Shalom.
As we all know what today is, which is the closing services of the unleavened bread. It's a lot for the later than usual start tonight. Some things happen and some no-shows and trying to see who's coming and who's not. But at the end of the day, the Most High program still has to go on. So we can't wait for so long. You know, we just got to move on and deal with who's in front of you. So before we start, brother, if you have any questions so far about anything, feel free to ask away. You know, like I said, our job is to teach. And that's what we take pride in doing. So if you have any questions of how we started out the service, or curiosities or anything that you want to inquire about, you're welcome to ask, you know what I'm saying, before we go into it. So feel free.
So tonight, as I understand it, tonight is the final night of the Passover period.
No.
Passover season.
Right, no, it's not the Passover, it's the final night of the unleavened bread. That's just a mistake that people tend to say. Go to Luke 22:1. It's the final night of the unleavened bread. But the Passover and the unleavened bread both fall on the same day. The thing is, the Passover was a one-day event. The unleavened bread is a 7-day event. But they coincide with each other. So sometimes people will mistake the last day for the Passover also. But only the first day is the Passover. The last day is the closing service of the unleavened bread. So, read Luke 22:1. Because that's actually one of the scriptures we were going to go over tonight anyway. So, we might as well just go with the Spirit is leading it that way. So, it's not a problem.
Chapter 22?
Luke chapter 22, verse 1. Come.
Now the feast of unleavened bread drew nigh, which is called the Passover.
Right, so the Feast of Unleavened Bread drew nigh, which is called the Passover. If you notice, it emphasized the Feast of Unleavened Bread before it emphasized the Passover. Because when you read about the unleavened bread in the scriptures, and the Passover in the scriptures, the first day is the day of the Passover when the angel of death smoked the firstborn cattle and males of the firstborn males of the men and the cattle of the Egyptians to break them down economically.
Yeah.
And to show his power. So now, that was a one-day event. That angel of death, when you read, we're going to go over a couple of scriptures tonight, that was Yahushua.
Jesus.
That's back with, we call Yahushua by his name in Hebrew.
That's the pre-incarnate Jesus.
Huh?
The pre-incarnate Jesus, before he came in flesh.
Right, absolutely. Before he came in the flesh, he was just a top angel. He wasn't needed to be a savior. You understand? But the Most High's name was always with him. And he was always with us. Throughout history, he's always been with us.
Can I ask one question?
Yes.
About, it may not have anything to do with what we're doing now, but isn't that the same Jesus that came when what's her name was supposed to have a child, even though she was already past the point?
Talk about Ishmael.
When she was past the point, remember when the 3 men came? And
The angels.
Yeah.
Talk about the Abraham, you mean?
When his wife was supposed to have a child, but she was.
Isaac, rather. Isaac.
But she was already in
Past her menopause
Yeah.
stage, right.
And that one guy that no one can really figure out who he is, and wasn't that Jesus, the pre-incarnate Jesus?
You mean Melchizedek?
Right.
You mean, because you talking about the one who collected the spoils from Abraham? Is that what you're talking about?
No, I'm talking about didn't 3 angels come?
Yeah.
And do we know that all 3 names?
No, what is man you talking about?
No, let's talk about the story of Abraham.
Oh,
So what the story of Abraham?
Yeah.
We don't speculate on what we don't know.
Yeah.
You understand? Because it doesn't specify. You just know that they were angels. How you know that they were angels is because when Sarah, when she laughed to herself and was like, this guy,
Yeah.
how am I gonna have these children? And I'm already past that menopausal stage. Right? And he was like, look, why are you laughing? She's like, I didn't laugh. How did he know she laughed? And she said it to herself. because he read her thoughts. You understand what I'm saying? He was able to read her mind. He knew what she was thinking. He knew she was thinking that, oh, yeah, well, I'm past my middle. But that's why he's like, listen, with the Most High, anything's possible. Open up your book and put that down now. So he was, you know, we don't know who it was. Usually, when you read the scriptures, the angels that he always would send would be Uriel or Raphael or Gabriel to speak to people. You know, like Raphael he did during the time of Tobit, but then he wanted to heal Tobit. But Uriel and Gabriel were the main ones that always delivered the messages. You know, they were the ones that always delivered the messages to people. They walked, you know, and it's a preconceived notion that angels have wings. There's nowhere in the scriptures showing angels had wings. Angels look like men. Now, the seraphims and cherubims had wings. Angels didn't have wings. So when they came looking like it's men. They weren't coming because, and how you know that is simple. When the angels came during the time of Lot, do you think they would try to have sex with winged creatures? No. They would have been kind of shook.
And Samson's mother saw a man.
Right, absolutely. You know, but when they talk about you know, but that's the white man, because what he did during the time of the Renaissance, you know, he started to just combine the seraphims and the cherubims and mix them with angels and try to say, well, these were the angels or whatever. So it started with that. You understand? But the seraphims are the two-winged creatures, and cherubims have 4 or more. But then you had the regular like Michael, Uriel. They were angels, but they didn't have they didn't have any wings or anything. They just came as men. You understand? They came as men. They didn't have wings.
So there are different levels.
They're different levels.
Of angels.
Right. They're different levels.
Or
you have angels.
Or they serve different purposes.
Angel means messenger.
Right.
You had angels, you had cherubims, you had seraphims. That's what you had. Angels, cherubims, seraphims. The cherubims and the seraphims had wings. Doesn't show anywhere in the scriptures where angels had wings. You understand? That's not true. You see, so but during that time period that you're referring to, we don't know who they were because they didn't really say. You know, as far as which men those were. But we know it wasn't Yahushua. You know why? Because whenever Yahushua came on the scene and he made himself known to Moses in the bush, Moses had to take off his shoes and bow down. When he made himself known to Joshua, when they finished doing the unleavened bread, he made himself known and Joshua knew to bow down and worship him. You understand? Whenever a messenger, whenever an angel rather, was sent, like during the time of John the Baptist, when he wanted to bow down to the angel was like, nah, I'm one of your brothers. We're of the same stock of Israel. He was like, worship the Most High. You see what I'm saying? So when Yahushua came on the scene in the Old Testament, and the Most High said he was going to come on the scene, you knew it was him. And you bowed down and you gave reverence to him. And you took your shoes off because the ground he walked on was holy ground. So you didn't treat him as if he would be right, or as if he was an angel. You gave reverence to him, like you knew who he was, and you bowed down. And you gave reverence to him. You know, you just didn't like kick it with him on that type of level. Yeah. Like you gave reverence to him. Yeah. And when Joshua encountered Yahushua before he was who he is now. When you count him as he was considered the captain of the host, because he is over all the creation. So he was the captain of the host of the Lord. So, like I said, when we encountered him, he knew, and the thing was, you just pull it over some of the camera. He knew who he was. He bowed down and he gave reverence unto him. So, but that we have no proof of who those angels were. You know, we can speculate, but one thing we don't like to deal with, we don't like to deal with what ifs and speculation, because then it can open a can of worms.
Right.
Then all of a sudden what happens is a brother may say, oh, well, I found in this book that it said this. And that book is just a book of man, and it's not in the scriptures. When things are in the scriptures, we just tend to leave it alone, so to speak. We just don't speculate, you know. Any other questions?
No.
Okay, come. So,
Go
go ahead.
Remember, scripture say you entertain angels unaware.
Come.
So, you know, that shows like the brother was saying, they can come in a man form. You know, Most High can do anything.
Absolutely.
They can appear, but you know, it just shows you. A lot of times they come as men, where you don't even know. You don't even know that that's an angel. Yeah.
And that's why you have to be careful of how you deal with people. And that's why that scripture is there, because you can be dealing with somebody harshly, and it could just be a test on you to see how you're going to react to certain things. And you can be disrespectful to this person, and there go your blessings right there, because you didn't know you was entertaining an angel, you know, and you're entertaining this angel, but you treat them harshly, and guess what? You lose out on your blessings. So, you know, the scriptures talks about, if it's possible, be at peace with all men. You know, the way you're supposed to walk in that spirit of Yahushua. And in walking in that spirit of Yahushua, you have to want to represent life and not death and destruction. You know? So that's how you want to do it. So anything else? All right, so let's go back to Luke 22, verse 1.
And the chief priests and scribes sought how they might kill him, for they feared the people.
And see, during this time period, you know, the Passover was coming up, and of course the chief priests and the scribes, they were the ones that were trying to kill Yahushua. The reason why they wanted to kill him is because why? The tide started to shift now. Before Christ came on the scene, they were in control of all doctrines. When Yahushua came with the true doctrine, the people understood he was the Messiah. And the chief priests and the scribes basically represents the churches, all these different religious organizations of today. They don't want to see Christ come back. You know why they don't want to see Christ come back? Because it would break up their power structure they have in the society. Like organizations like the NAACP, organizations like the Rainbow Coalition, you know, or the National Action Network. All these the Muslim movement, they don't want to see Christ come back, because then what the power structure they have in society will be taken from them, because now Christ is going to come back and set things in a proper order.
Yeah, and I also want to touch on that, like, and that many of these churches are really like, they have like an inner circle or in a network where they're communicating with each other, and many of them are undercover Satan worshipers, straight up, into the zodiac, into like a lot of to the fornication and adultery, things like that. And they like literally have an inner circle, like certain churches that may be like big churches that you see in certain cities. They meet up in certain places that they may nickname like manifestations in certain times, and they would discuss how to make even more and more money. What's the best time period? Well, the zodiac says here, so we can get all the Leos here at this time to celebrate at this time. Straight up Satanism. And these are the ones that you're not even thinking of. These are like the ones that look like be wearing the good uniforms and things like that. The ones that have the thousands upon thousands of congregations. Many of them are just straight Satan worshipers on the low. And it's like they just meet up all together. The ones like, and they like different, like you may have a Methodist here, Presbyterian here, Pentecostal, then they meet all together at a place, like the leaders up there, and they'll be planning like, okay, how are we gonna get this? How are we gonna get this done? How are we gonna get this done? Or they have like a little secret breakfast, and they'll discuss on how they can change a society to fit their needs. Yeah, things like that. They even talk about, let's bring even Muslims in the church because they have money now. Yeah, literally. Yeah, a couple of churches said that Muslims making some money outside, it's time to bring them in. Yeah.
Just real quick, can somebody give me 1 Corinthians 15:24 to back up The other Mataf was saying about why they don't want to see Yahweh Shai come. And then, yeah, why they really don't want to see him come, because it's going to tell you exactly why they don't want to see him come. Man.
Exactly.
Okay? Whoever got it, read it.
1 Corinthians 15:24.
Yeah.
Everybody got it? All right, First Corinthians 15:24. Then cometh the end,
Then comes the end when the Lord comes on the scene. Come on.
when he shall have delivered up the kingdom to the Most High,
When he delivered the kingdom up to his heavenly Father. Come on.
even the Father, when he shall have put down all rule and all authority and power.
See that? He's going to put down all rule, all authority, everything. Put it under his feet. So just what the brother was saying, that's why they don't want to see the Lord come back. Because it's total dictatorship. He's going to sit, bring down every authority and every power under him. And put himself in the power structure like how it's supposed to be. That's simple.
And they don't like, it talks about in Revelations, all nations shall wail or mourn.
Yeah.
Because they're gonna realize that everything we've been saying all this time is true.
Right.
You know, all it takes for them to see is a big black man on a horse coming in the sky with over 100 million angels. The sky's flooded with angels. The first thing they're gonna think of is us. It was just right. It was right. Because you're not gonna think the Catholic Church. You're not gonna think Pentecostal, this or that. Them guys on the street was right all this time, and we didn't believe them. That's what they're gonna think. Because think about it. Some people didn't believe Yahweh Shai was the Messiah until what? Until he died.
God.
Heck, his brother didn't believe until he died.
God.
Then his brother became an apostle. Who was that? Judas, right? Jude, his brother Jude?
No, James.
James, right. But he didn't believe when he was alive. He was scoffing, until he died. So people aren't gonna believe until he comes back, but then it's gonna be too late. It'd be way too late then. So that's the thing. So from there, go to 1 Corinthians, the 5th chapter. We was gonna go over that from before. The 6th verse. Go over that.
All right, 1 Corinthians 5. 5 and 6. Your glorying is not good. Know you not that a little leaven leaveneth up the whole lump. So what he's doing now, he's getting on the church of Corinth. The church of Corinth, they were proud and they were doing a lot of things that was, going outside the law of the Most High. They had women being teachers. They had a lot of weird things was going there. It said that people was able to have their father's wife, things like that, and they weren't chastising people for doing sins because they were just so proud because they was having a lot of money. Like we read earlier before. And it says, verse 7, purge out therefore the old leaven, that ye may be a new lump. So we know that this old leaven is talking about the evil ways. As ye are unleavened, for even Christ, our Passover, is sacrificed for us. Because as we know, that whole Passover celebration represents Christ. Christ appears all over the Passover. He represents that lamb. He represents even what happens after the Passover. Even if you look at the Passover lamb, the lamb had to be without blemish. Christ had no sins upon him whatsoever. the lamb had been inspected. Christ was being inspected by the priests, Pharisees and Sadducees and all that. The lamb had to be like put out and like killed. Christ was also killed, and it was supposed to also be for atonement also. Christ was also our atonement. That's why he was called the sacrificial lamb. For even Christ our Passover is sacrificed for us. Therefore, let us keep the feast, not with old leaven, neither with the leaven of malice and wickedness. And this cuts many of those churches that said we have to keep Easter and Christmas and everything. If you know about the majority, over 90% of these churches out there that are Sunday worship, none of them celebrate the Passover. But it says right here, they all believe in Corinthians, and if they want to say all law is done away with, all the holy days are done away with, then why is it says this, therefore let us keep the feast? Which feast what it's talking about? The Passover right above. So he's telling all these churches, yeah, let's keep the feast.
That's right.
Yeah, so that they can't get around that. So it don't say let's keep Easter, and they don't say let's keep Christmas and let's put up some trees or something like that. Or let's keep All Saints Day or let's keep Sunday. It says Christ was our Passover, so let's keep the feast.
Right, this is not with old leaven. That old leaven is that old man and that old way of thinking. Every year, this is where they get having a New Year's resolution from. You understand? Because that old man represents what? Your old ways. What do you want to change? Every year you should want to evolve spiritually. And take your spirit, see what you can do to improve. And that's why when you're eating this Passover, you're not supposed to eat it in the same mind frame that you ate last year. What do you need to improve? That's why Paul always examined himself. He was big on judging himself, making sure he was on point. So that if he's on point, when it's time to judge somebody else, he's blameless. You understand? Because you always want, like I said, in order for you to evolve, you have to constantly examine yourself and correct your faults and repent and things like that, and come back as a better person every year. You're always supposed to want to improve yourself, whether it's your study habits, your work, any type of habits that you have that you want to improve on. That's what this is talking about. You shouldn't every year you coming in with the same old leaven. Like we was talking last week about a brother who's bit at me and a couple other brothers. Brothers didn't really do nothing to the guy. But that's because this is leaven that he had from the 90s against men. And when you hold on to that leaven, it just infects your body. And it infects you, then it affects your mind. And then the scriptures tells you, and you read in Wisdom of Solomon, it says, wisdom shall not dwell into a malicious soul or body subject to sin. That's why you have to always examine yourself to make sure that your body isn't subject to sin. Because if your body is subject to sin, then guess what? That leaven that's in you can spread to him, can spread to him, can spread to me. And I don't want that around me. You understand? So you have to really examine yourself. And that's why when we read in Corinthians, the 11th chapter, look, some men aren't worthy of eating that Passover. It shows today. It shows today. You understand? Because this is not a one-day event. This is a 1 week event. If it was a 1 day event, the Most High would say it's a 1 day event. This is a 1 week event. The house should be packed more than it was before. You understand? But that's because some men have that old leaven, meaning their old ways still in them. You can't do that. You won't grow spiritually. You won't grow spiritually. And how you can see that with men is, like how we always talk about the years men been in the truth. Some men been in the truth 20-some years, they're up here teaching. Other men been in the truth 20-some years, they're still learning. And not to say we don't learn, because I love sitting in class. But we also teach. Our first job is to teach. And then sit back and learn, because the scriptures always talks about we're forever learning, but never able to come into the knowledge of the truth. We're forever learning. The scripture talks about in Hebrews getting that sincere milk when we ought to be teachers. We ought to be taught again. So I love learning, But I have a job to do now because what? I'm constantly trying to remove that old leaven out of me. So the Most High puts you on a level when He sees that you really want to do His will and you really want to do the work.
And may I, real quick, what the brother was saying, he's absolutely right, man. Like, that's deep. Wisdom doesn't enter into a malicious soul. So you see brothers out there breaking everything down, this and that. But if they have a envious spirit, talking about brothers, disrespecting brothers, then their wisdom ain't really going to the next level. You see what I'm saying? Like the brother was saying, that's anything, man. Like martial arts or whatever. You gotta, once the man is teaching you for years, then after you gotta teach the other students. He don't expect you to, the teacher may get old, and he may expect you to lead. So it don't make sense, like the brother saying. We see brothers come in, been in here 20, 21 years, don't even want to come up.
Right, exactly. Yeah, they're like,
You know, I mean, come on.
they're like,
Don't make no sense.
just pointing to, or they're slouching down in the chair. They're slouching down in the chair, like, you been in here. We was in the trooper program together, brother. You should be up here with us. We shouldn't have to pull tooth, it shouldn't be. Oh, you get up here, I don't know what to talk about. You've been in 23 Passover, you still don't know? It's unacceptable. But that's because men, they don't get rid of that old leaven. When you get rid of that old leaven, you're here for the first day and the last day. And it's not a burden. You don't worry about what time you start, you just worry about doing it. You understand? It's never a burden. See, and like even with us, like I tell you, see, we come from a different tree. And in Jersey, we used to tell brothers all the time, yo, you better eat before you come. You tell them, you had to eat before you came with us. Because if you was, and don't get me wrong, we had food all over the joint. We had two tables full of food. But if you don't eat before you come, you talking about you hungry, then we're gonna start pulling out the scriptures on you because we don't want to hear you hungry because we're not, even though we got all types of food there, the service came first. That service had to be done first. And we didn't care how long it took, that service was getting done. So if you was hungry, that wasn't our problem because we always say eat before you come when you come to our service. Because the spiritual food is more important because that's going to save you. You understand? Yahweh said, man can't live by bread alone.
Okay. It says therefore let us keep the feast, not with old leaven, neither with the leaven of malice and wickedness. So not even with wickedness or malice, being angry at brothers or just being wicked with brothers, but with the unleavened bread of sincerity of heart.
So don't let sincerity and truth. So
Sincerity and truth.
I was like hard. I'm waiting for truth. I was like, I don't see that. That's why I didn't know if he was finished or not. Yeah, but like the brother Tarab put out earlier, you have to, like we was talking about earlier, you have to be sincere. And to be sincere is to be humble. It's a synonym for being humble. If you're not sincere in this word, you're not gonna last. Or you're not gonna take it serious. And a lot of men don't take it serious. And that's why the scripture says many are called and few are chosen. But some men just don't take it serious. Like you have to take this as a part of you. Like me personally, I was out there in the world to see what the world is about. This book and the words in this book totally changed my life. Like you can't tell me that what we're dealing with is not the truth. You just can't tell me. I slept with this Bible for years. I used to play my camp tapes auto reverse. Like I breathe, eat, sleep this word, and that's how you have to be. You understand? And you have to want to, like how Paul said, be addicted to the ministry. If you're not addicted to the ministry, you're just going to take it as a job instead of taking it as your life. And that's the thing. You don't want to take it as a job. This is your life, so it should be a part of you. Come.
Yeah, what the brother said, he lives. I mean, we see, like the brother say, we don't just always try to throw one West out, but being at one West, man, every brother that was really in there, man, they got a steady, dose of scriptures all the time, man. The brother could tell you, like, they used to almost have like battles with each other pulling out scripture. It was just a crazy thing, man. Like, it was just a dose. You were spoon-fed the word all the time on scripture. That's why when the brother mentioned the tapes, yeah, we had tapes. Brothers had
I still
tapes.
got online too, videos.
Yeah.
I still got the VCR, everything.
Yeah,
Because that's the
crazy.
word right there.
Yeah.
You wanna, the word is gonna be the word. And that's just how it is. And that's why, like, I could be into 2, 3, 4 in the morning teaching, not be tired. Cats be like, because when it's days like this, man, this is what it is. This is, you're supposed to be charged up for this. Especially when you know what it's about, you're supposed to be charged up for it. So,
Like the brother was saying, though, he also elevated that every scripture that was given to us wasn't broke. We saw a different, we kind of
evolved.
Yeah.
Definitely evolved. The
Yeah.
word has evolved
Yeah.
over the years. It's evolved big time for the betterment of, the scriptures.
Right.
So it's to from there, go to Leviticus, the 23rd chapter. Start at verse 4, I desire.
All right, Leviticus 23:4. These are the feasts of the Lord, even holy convocations, which ye shall proclaim in their seasons. A holy convocation is a holy gathering. And the 14th day of the first month at evening is the Lord's Passover. On the 15th day of the same month is the feast of unleavened bread unto the Lord.
Right, so when it says on the 14th day, it says on the 14th day of the first month at even means sundown, which is actually talking about the 15th day. Because when you read the scriptures, the day doesn't actually begin at 12 o'clock at night. The day begins as soon as the sun goes down. That's when the new day begins. The day doesn't begin at midnight. What you're going to start realizing, the more you start reading the Bible, the more you'll start realizing that Esau, who rules his kingdom, he's changed times and laws to benefit him. Because when you read in the scriptures, in Genesis, it says the evening and the morning was the first day. So that first day, the evening and the morning, that equated to one day. So when that sun goes down, the new day begins instead of 12 o'clock at night. So when saying the 14th day at evening, it's actually talking about the 15th day. But the reason why it's separating like that, because it's showing you the Passover is one feast day, but then the unleavened bread is another feast day. That's why the way they broke it down is the 14th day sundown, the 14th day at evening is the Passover. But then he came back to the 15th day, even the same day, is the unleavened bread. But they wanted to let you know that it's actually two feast days that's on that first day. It's the Passover and it's the beginning of unleavened bread.
I came across that because I read the explanation of the Passover in Exodus today, and I was confused because
Right.
I didn't understand that.
Right.
The day starts
At evening, yes. That's what it is. The day starts at evening, and it's like right now, we're in what's this, Wednesday? This would be Wednesday, technically. Well, it was past one anyway. But Wednesday actually began when the sun went down. technically Wednesday began when the sun went down, because that's when the day begins.
Look, and you from the islands, you from Jamaica, well, you said you're Jamaica, from the country or the city, the town? Country.
Yeah.
What they do in the country. When the rooster crows, they get up early in the
Well,
morning,
yeah.
right? And usually when the sun goes down, a lot of them are sleeping. Right?
And see, that's the thing.
See?
You didn't have need for street light.
Right.
Why? Because when the sun went down, you was going to bed.
Right.
When the sun came up, you was up and you was ready to go to work.
Right.
You know, and see, like with me, I get up every day like 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
I can't, like, and I've been like this for years.
Right.
And it stemmed because I was in the junior cadets and everything. But it was like, I just always got up with the sun. And of course I would take a nap throughout during the day or whatever, but I always, it's nothing like getting up with the sun, sending up prayers when the sun's coming up. It's an amazing feeling thanking the Most High for another day.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, but that's what it's got to go back to. And that's why when you go to other countries, their whole vibration and their whole way of thinking is different from America.
Right.
Like I was watching this I didn't know Spain, they had,
Siesta.
for 3 hours. For 3 hours, from 2 p.m. to 5
They're
p.m.
trying to cut it out though.
They're trying to cut it out, yeah,
Yeah.
because they're getting that westernized mentality.
Yeah.
But they siesta.
Because you know the Moors have a lot of influence on them.
Absolutely.
The Moorish
The
system.
more, yeah, definitely. So, but no, they siesta for 3 hours, and it was funny because I had a boss, right, who was from England, and we're working in a mining agency at the time, right, and this guy, like, I wasn't stressing, but I was always hustling and busting. He just looked at me like, I'm hustling and busting, do what I got to do. Get talk, somebody call on the phone, start talking on the phone, do this, get work done, do this. And I'm like, yo, let me ask you, why are you so, like, you're too laid back. But then he explained that, you know, in Britain, and he's like, listen, we value work, but not like you guys do. He was like, listen, and what he said to me made sense. He said, Americans live just to work. He was like, us, we work to live. So when I sat back and I examined it, he was like, listen, think about it. Everything y'all do revolves around work. And that's why a lot of y'all die at young ages. Or you got stress problems and this, heart attacks. And he's like, listen, because y'all let work consume you compared to with us. Hell, we take, and this guy would get up, it could be busy as hell, and he's going to take a tea break. He does not care. He's like, listen, if they get cigarette breaks, I'm taking tea breaks. 2 and 3 tea breaks a day. But this is how they do it in Europe. And it's all good. But he was like, listen, we work to live. Y'all live to work. And he's like, we work less, but we still get more done than y'all. You know? And like I said, everything he said made sense. He's like, listen, a lot of people that work in Europe, we work to make money, to go places and explore, do this and do that. Y'all work just to pay bills.
Right.
And what you said about the vibration stuff, how different countries vibration. Like, I was thinking about this not long ago. How when I was growing up in Jamaica, I would be struggling to stay up to watch my. I remember one night I struggled to stay up to watch my favorite program at 9 o'clock.
Right, exactly.
9
exactly.
o'clock. And once I got here and got into the way the vibrations here,
It's totally different.
I can stay up till 3. Like I was telling my mother the other day how I need to get back on track with something.
Exactly.
Because something is lost. Because right now my sleep cycle is so screwed up, I don't even know where I am.
Right, yeah. And this
I don't even know
country,
what I am.
it will do it
Yeah.
to you. It'll definitely throw your vibration off. And let me tell you, down south is similar to the islands.
To the Caribbean, I find a lot of similarities.
You know,
I
when you
find
go
a
to
lot.
when you get like the bottom part of Virginia on down, it's straight like the islands. It's more laid back.
Yep.
They're driving slower. They're
Very religious.
very religious.
Yeah.
They're very, and you know what?
We have that same little thing about entertaining angels.
Absolutely.
We say that southern hospitality
Yeah,
thing,
the southern
it exists
hospitality.
in the Caribbean.
But and it's funny
Yeah.
because like when my kids were younger, I took them I took them on we was a road trip. We was out for a month. So we all down south. You know, so I'm talking to complete strangers, having conversations with them.
And
And I always tell my
they'll talk to you for
No,
hours.
definitely. And I always tell my kids, don't talk to strangers, right? So then, when we're walking, people are like, hey, how you doing? Hey, what's going on? How you doing? We stop and talking, this and that. Then, hey, how y'all doing? My kids be like, so I had to pull them to the side
What
like
happened
this.
to you in New York?
I said, you know what? You remember what I said about, I said, listen, let me rephrase. I said, when you're down south, I said, people actually don't want to kidnap you. I'm like, listen, you can loosen up a little bit because people are just genuinely trying to be nice. They're not trying, they don't have any ulterior motives because they have that, what we call Southern hospitality,
Yep.
you know, and they'll know you're not from around just by the way you dress, by the way our accent is different from theirs. So they're just being hospitable, it's like Southern hospitality, you know, but up here, it's all programmed to be a slave up here. And it's different, you know, like I said, I get up with the sun and, you know, I'll take my little nap and everything. My kids will tell you, I close my door, take my nap, wake back up. Because, you know, you can't, you here, unfortunately, up north, you have to, you know, you can't go down, you can't go to sleep with the sun. Because of the way things are, and some people are working overnight. It's just, it's a madhouse up there. It's a madhouse. But all that's gonna come full. So even down south, stores close early. You know, the parties, the clubs and everything, they're closing early. 11 o'clock. We just going out to the party. 11 o'clock down south, the party's over. You know, I remember we was.
Yeah, they close the bars up
Yeah,
there too.
yeah. When we was in the bar, it was like 11 o'clock.
And here it's what, 4?
Yeah, they were like, you know, last call alcohol. And I'm like, he's like, oh, nah, this is not New York, bro. You know, I'm like, well, you know, I guess we go back to the hotel and that's that. But even on Sundays, down south, in South Carolina, they don't, like, stores can't open up till after 1. They can't open up till after 1 because down south,
It's the Lord's Day.
it's the Lord's Day to them. On
Yep.
Sundays, you know, on Sundays, they're like,
In Jamaica, you better not
no.
put no clothes on that line.
Yeah. They're like, that's how they take it. So it's more spirituality the further down south you get. And I'm gonna be honest, outside of the slavery thing, the South's way of living was much better than the North's. It's way better than the North's. Because the North
Better for the human body.
for the bodies, for the body and the mind.
Yeah.
Their way of living is way better than the North's. Because even up here is what, a lot of processed foods and everything. We're killing ourselves down there. Even when you go into the stores, the restaurants, the food is just fresher. The food is fresher. You know, because why?
And you'll find a lot of home gardens. People
Absolutely.
growing their own
Absolutely. Growing
tomatoes,
their own
vegetables.
tomatoes.
The air is better.
Yeah, the air, the
Yeah.
quality of the air is better and everything. So the water is
I
better.
just had a cousin who died at 90, she was 93 or something like that.
Exactly.
She had a huge, I remember as a child, I used to go down on her property, it was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
Exactly.
Goats, chickens, everything she could ever want.
Yeah.
She would have, I don't know what she went to, I don't know if she ever even went to the supermarket.
Right. You have no need
She
to.
had everything. She
You
had
have
all
no
the
need
fruits,
to, right.
everything.
When you have a farm, like see, I have a garden in my backyard, so it's like, you know, and I just extended it 2 feet because my mentality is, listen, in the summertime, I shouldn't have to buy vegetables. I got this big yard, and I started because I had a garden around the corner. You know, we got the community gardens and everything, so I'm growing all types of stuff. But I was like, you know what? I got this big yard, so I started it last year. But I was preparing it for this year. So this year, seeded everything up, got all types of stuff grown. Like, listen, if I have this land and this space, I should have no need to go to the supermarket for vegetables. I can grow them on my own, and I know where they're coming from.
That's right.
You know, I know where they're coming from. So, but it's all about getting back to the Most High and the essence of things. That's the key. You know. So finish this up.
Okay. And the 14th day of the first month at evening is the Lord's Passover. And on the 15th day of the same month is the Feast of Unleavened Bread.
So it's the same day, but the reason why it sounds like it's different is because they're distinguishing the Passover from the unleavened bread. They both fall on that same day. But it's a different. The difference between the Passover and the unleavened bread is the Passover is a one day feast. The unleavened bread is a 7-day feast.
Right.
Verse 8.
Oh yeah, verse 6.
Verse 7.
Seven,
Verse
seven,
7. It's a lot.
Yes. Oh.
Oh no, verse 6. No, you're right. Verse 6.
7 days ye must eat unleavened bread.
Right. So for 7 days, it's a commandment that you have to eat unleavened bread. Like you can't get around it. Every day you have to eat unleavened bread because the unleavened bread was the bread of our affliction. Because when we were fleeing in Egypt, when you read Exodus the 12th chapter, we didn't have time to knead the dough to make it rise and everything. So it says 7 days you must eat unleavened bread. You can't just say, oh, well, I'm just not going to eat bread. No, you have to eat unleavened bread every day of the week. Because that was a part of the ceremony, to eat it that whole week. Read on.
All right. And the first day ye shall have an holy convocation.
Right.
Ye shall do no servile work therein.
So in that first day, you should have a holy convocation. And the first day was packed. You know, we had a holy convocation. And this is why, like feast days, you know, you ahead of time, preparation. When you know a feast day is coming of the magnitude of the Passover and unleavened bread, you're supposed to take off them days. I always have taken off the day before and the day after. Always. Why? Why would I want to go to work on this day? If I have any feast days to choose from to where I can take off, well, I always take off during the tabernacle. I always take my vacation during the tabernacles. There's just something about taking your vacation in the tabernacle. It's a cool thing. But for the Passover, the day of and the day after I'm taking off, and then the day after for the closing services also. Because for the first fruits, that always falls on a Saturday. It's the first fruits is always going to fall on a Saturday sundown. So I never have to take off during that time period. So.
Ye shall do no servile work therein,
Right.
but ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord.
So servile work is work for hire. You know, and again, when you prepare, when you know these days are coming up, you just take that day off. Read on.
Made by fire unto the Lord 7 days. And the 7th day is a holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work.
Right, so in the 7th day also is a holy convocation. And I got your hands, Shaw Paul. And you're not supposed to do any servile work. So the first day is supposed to congregate, and the 7th day is supposed to congregate. And we don't do the animal sacrifices anymore because Yahweh Shai replaced those animals by shedding his blood. And once he shed his blood, when you read in Hebrews, the blood of goats and bullocks were no more worthy to be sacrificed. Because Yahweh Shai was that lamb, that spot without blemish that we read about in 1 Corinthians, the 5th chapter, verses 6 through 8. Shaw Paul.
Yeah, so basically right there, the Lord is telling you to take the day off of work.
Come, you're supposed to take the day off. You really are. And I get it. I understand with jobs and everything. But at the end of the day, where's your faith at? And it's not like you're asking for all 7 days. You know, some men, I'm gonna tell you what the problem is with some men. Some men have a fear of the white man still. You understand? And the reason why I said it is because if the so-called Jew, right, is not even a Jew. You have the Orthodox ones. You have the what are the other ones called? What are the Sephards,
Ashkenazi,
the Ashkenazis, right? But then you have the fake Jew, the fake so-called Jew, the ones with the Jewish names, right?
Yeah, atheist Jews like Howard
Yes,
Stern.
like Howard Stern. They're the fake Jews, right? They're definitely.
Yeah.
But even with them, they don't follow any laws. But guess what? They'll take off for the feast days though. But they don't follow any laws. But like how the Ashkenazi or the Orthodox do. But they'll take off them feast days. You won't hear Howard Stern working on the Passover, knowing damn well he don't give a damn about the Passover.
Right.
You know, Steven Spielberg, you got the Amalekite name, but he won't miss a Passover though. Or he'll take that day off anyway, but he's not serving like how he's supposed to. And these guys don't have the truth. And here it is, you have the truth, Where's your faith at? And then you know when the Passover's coming up, months in advance. You're supposed to put that time in. Like he always gets something like, yo, you gotta get that schedule out so you can start marking his days off. But that's what you want to do. Mark them off in advance so there's no excuse. There shouldn't be any excuse why a man's not here. But then if a man's not taking these notes, how's he gonna know? Because it's easy to come to school, like when you was in a white man's school and you came to their school and you didn't take notes, what happened? Eventually you get left back. Then eventually you drop out. That happens here too. Because this is the top knowledge. But at the same time, you just can't not take notes. Scripture says do all things in writing. So you have to take notes. Go home, study your notes, things like that, in order for you to build your spirit up. So you'll know these things. Then you'll have faith and you'll want to take off. Oh, so that was it on that? All right. From there, go to Joshua.
Yeah, I think I have to read it.
Oh, read it.
Yeah.
I thought you didn't read it?
No, well, I can finish it.
Okay, well read it quick fast.
All right. And the seventh day is a holy convocation. You
Right.
shall do no servile work.
Right, so the seventh day also is a holy convocation, and you read that, you should do no servile work. So now you read it already out.
That
So,
was the first sentence.
now you said seven. I did, yeah. But again, the first day is a feast day, and the last day is a feast day. You understand? And when it says, when you're reading Deuteronomy 16 and 16, quick fast, shower, Paul.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 16, verse 16. 3 times in a year shall all thy males appear before the iron.
Right, so it
Thy
says
power.
3 times in a year shall all thy males appear before Yahweh thy power. Right? So 3 times in a year. Read on.
In the place which he shall choose.
Right, so for the Passover and the unleavened bread, he chose him. Read on.
In the feast of unleavened bread.
Now, if you notice something, right, it didn't refer anything to the Passover, right? It didn't refer to it. It said what? The feast of unleavened bread. Why did it say the feast of unleavened bread? It's simple. The Passover is only a 1-day feast, but the unleavened bread is a 7-day feast. And as we read in Deuteronomy, the first day is a Sabbath, a holy convocation. So that covers the Passover. So why mention the Passover when the first day covers the Passover, right? But then it says the 7th day is a holy convocation. So that's why if the Passover is not mentioned, because the first day of the unleavened bread is automatically going to cover the Passover. So you'll know to be there, right? Read on.
And in the feast of weeks.
The Feast of Weeks also. The first day is a Sabbath, and the last day is a Sabbath. Read on.
And in the feast of tabernacles.
And in the Feast of Tabernacles, which is also called the Feast of Ingathering, the first day is a Sabbath, and the last day is a Sabbath. Read on.
And they shall not appear before Yahweh empty-handed.
Right, and you shall not appear before the Most High empty-handed. You better bring an offering or something. If you're not going to cook food or bring a monetary donation, bring something up. Don't be selfish. Don't figure, oh, another brother gonna bring it. Nah, everybody's supposed to bring. When you read the end of Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, it talks about on all feast days you're supposed to bring your gift offerings and your free will offerings. On all feast days you're supposed to do it, not just the 3 main ones. On all of them, you got supposed to bring free will offerings and your gifts to the Most High to sustain His temple. That's what men are supposed to do. So is that finished on that?
17.
Come, man, you finished on that. So go to the book of Joshua. Actually, I'm reading this book right now. For the book of Joshua, the 5th chapter. Start at verse 11.
Right. Joshua 5 and 11. Should we start at 10?
Start at 10. Come. Yeah, come. Start at 10.
Yeah.
Joshua what?
5 and 10.
5 and 10.
Yep. Joshua 5 and 10. Oh, it's right after it's right after Judges. Yeah, so there's Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers,
No,
and
before
Deuteronomy.
Judges.
Yeah, it's right before
Right
Judges.
before Judges. It's Joshua. It's Deuteronomy, then it's Joshua, then it's Judges.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we were just waiting for brothers to get it. All right. Brothers have it. Then Joshua 5 and 10. And the children of Israel encamped in Gilgal, and kept the Passover on the 14th day of the month at evening.
Right, so when they first came back into the Holy Land, they kept the Passover on the 14th day of the month at evening. Read on.
In the plains of Jericho.
Right,
And they did eat of the old corn of the land on the morrow.
right. The old corn was corn that was just there. Read on.
After the Passover, unleavened cakes and parched corn in the self same day.
Come.
And the manna ceased on the morrow after they had eaten of the old corn of the land. Neither had the children of Israel manna any more, but they did eat of the fruit of the land of Canaan.
Right, because the fruit of the land of Canaan was ripe. When you read about it in Numbers, it took when they spying out the land, it took 2 men to carry 1 cluster of grapes. Now you can pick up 1 cluster of grapes with 1 finger. Yeah, it tells you that in Numbers. When they were spying out the land, they was like, yeah, this land is ripe for the taking. And it took them they had 2 staffs, and they had to put the grapes over the staff and carry it. Them same grapes we now carry with 1 finger, took 2 men to carry 1 cluster of
What are you
grapes.
saying?
Wow.
Huh?
That the things were how things were different.
Yeah.
You're saying how fruits and
Absolutely.
agriculture and everything
Absolutely.
was different.
Absolutely. It's a perfect example. And see, not only that, when you read in the scriptures, according to the law, you're supposed to let the land rest every 7 years. So you farm for 6 years,
The ancient method.
and in the 7th year, you don't do anything to it. Whatever grows of it, you don't touch it, you don't pick it, you
Yeah.
just leave it there. Because in the Most High tells you, don't do anything because I'm going to bless you with so much in that 6th year, but you don't need to do anything in the 7th year. And the white man does not do that. That's why now, your son can carry a cluster of grapes. You understand what I'm saying? To where before it took 2 grown men to carry 1 cluster
The
of
land
grapes.
is dying.
The earth is defiled and the inhabitants thereof. The whole earth is
You're
defiled.
right about saying that the white man really doesn't understand the environment.
No, he
He
understands it.
destroys the earth.
See,
It's true. My dad and my aunt, who are older Jamaicans. My dad, I've been 82. I had an 82. My dad was born in 1930 Jamaica.
Mhm.
My aunt was born like 3 years later.
right.
And they, to this day, I say to her, although I get what she's saying, I say to her, you've been here since the 60s. You came in the late 60s, and you don't know that the food here is horrible.
It's
She
terrible.
keeps. It's kind of like she keeps yearning for the food of Jamaica, the food how it was in
Yeah.
Jamaica. She keeps talking. I'm like, how do you not get? Aren't you used to it by now? You've been
Yeah.
here since the 60s.
Yeah.
Nothing tastes the same. She says.
Yeah.
Nothing.
No,
has,
absolutely
she
not.
says nothing has life in it. Nothing.
You can't. You need to, like, when you have stuff food here in this country, you need to add other things to bring flavor out of it. To where when you get something from like down south, or you get something fresh, or you get something from the
You
islands,
ever had that Haitian mango?
yeah, it absolutely like.
It has life.
A brother that used to be in our congregation, he bought me some kiwi from Haiti. And I've never tasted anything that delicious before in my life, as far as with a fruit. From the island. It's amazing.
It's 100%.
Yeah.
It's not missing anything.
It's
Because
amazing.
the earth here is it's gone.
And
Stuff is gone out of it.
And see, not only that, what they've done with the seeds, they've made them into hybrid.
Yeah.
So a lot of this stuff isn't real.
Yeah.
And I tell people all the time, like, when you go into these quote unquote health food stores like Whole Foods and all
Yeah.
that, I tell people all the time, that's not real fruit that you're eating. And that's why now they have to start labeling their stuff by I think it's in 2017 that all their stores should be labeled what's real fruit and what's what do they call that?
GMO. GMO.
Yeah.
It's genetically modified.
Genetically modified.
Yeah, they go in there and they.
And see, 95% of that stuff in Whole Foods is genetically modified.
Even though Whole Foods is set apart from the other supermarket.
Absolutely, but see, think about it, and this is natural. You can go in the Pathmark, right? You can go into the Korean stores that are like the Korean or the Chinese
Yeah.
markets and everything. What do they all have in common? Fruit flies. They all have in common fruit flies. Every one of those stores, right? Go into a Whole Foods. You will never see a fruit fly in there. You know why? Because insects are the best teachers. And watch the
They
ants.
teach us that in Jamaica.
Watch the ants.
Yeah.
Watch the ants and watch the birds. They don't eat genetically modified food.
You won't find it. They teach us that in Jamaica. It's
Absolutely.
That makes sense to me. That
Whole
it's like-
Foods,
it's like-
most
it's
of their vegetables and fruits in there are genetically modified. You never noticed that?
like- when you look at the collard
Right.
greens. When you see
You
the
never
collard,
noticed that.
when you see the collard greens that have the little holes in it from the inside, that's the
Absolutely,
real stuff.
That's the real stuff.
But when you see the one that's perfect and big,
That's
and
genetically modified stuff, and that's what people don't realize. Listen, and nobody taught me that. I knew that because I've always farmed. Like in Brooklyn, I was born and raised in Brooklyn back in the days. Botanic Gardens in Brooklyn over here. You're from Brooklyn, right? Eastern Parkway, Botanic Gardens. They used to give us that they had like plots. They would give us the free plots. They had the straight cow dung. You bought the cow dung over. You did your ground and everything. You seeded it the whole 9 yards. We was young children doing this, and it was free back then. I heard it's like $20 to $50 for a plot now. Back then it was free. But we did that, and at night, what we had to do was let the insects out at night. So once your stuff started to grow, you had to let the ladybugs out for all the smaller insects. So they gave you a big
natural pesticide.
Yeah, definitely natural pesticide. They gave you the like the little ice cream containers, but it had a screen on top. What was in it? Ladybugs. So you had to come at night, let the ladybugs out. Then they gave you a little small cage. What was in those? Praying mantises. They got the bigger insects. Boom, you shove that, put that all around. And we had to do that at night. So, and why? Because if you didn't, the little aphids and other insects would be eating your crops. So when you go into these stores and you don't see no fruit flies in Whole Food, you know most of that stuff in there, besides the conventional stuff, is real. And the reason why they label it conventional, because that's been sprayed by insecticide. So you gotta ask yourself, are you gonna take the perfect fruit or the conventional stuff that may have a little insect? I'll take my chance with the insecticide. I'm being honest. Because a lot of that fruit is what's killing people. Because they think it's healthy when it's really not. 95% of the corn in this country is GMO, genetically modified. They're now using corn for what? Gasoline. Ethanol is corn. Ethanol is corn now. That's how they're making it. So watch the insects. All you got to do is watch insects. Put some seedless grapes by an ant, and then put a grape with a seed by an ant. I guarantee you, by the time you come out tomorrow, only thing you're going to see is a seed. But you're going to see a seed on one side and that whole grape that has no seed in it. Why? Because insects will not eat anything
That's not real.
that is not real.
And they have a sense of it.
They said that absolutely. They will not eat anything that's not real. A bee won't touch anything that's not real.
Yeah.
They won't. If it's genetically modified and genetically altered, they won't touch it. Neither will a butterfly. They don't want nothing to do with it because it's not real. And that's how you realize, you see the Most High, it's the vibration of the earth. Animals won't touch it if it's not real. And if they do, it's out of their starving. But naturally, they won't touch it. Not at all. You know, and that's how you know these things. Like, and that's why I only get certain things out of Whole Food. But fruits and vegetables, man, I go to other stores for that. You know, especially if it doesn't have any seeds in it. What's the purpose of it?
It's extra.
Makes no sense. You know, no seeds. The scriptures tells you that in Genesis that you're not supposed to eat anything without seeds. Because why? You have the fruit bearing tree and the herb bearing plant. So if it doesn't have seeds in it, how's it going to reproduce itself? So that's why you're not supposed to eat seedless grapes, seedless oranges, seedless watermelon. Watermelon is what's watermelon without spitting out the seeds?
Yeah, no.
It's not watermelon to me.
Exactly.
It's not watermelon to me. You know, without spitting out seeds. And that's why the only way you can get like those watermelons, those cantaloupes and all that, you know where you gotta go? You gotta find them Ephraimites or those Issacharites that got the big truck and they selling out the back of their truck or they selling off their pickup truck. That's the stuff that's real. Or you go into the Korean spot, that's the stuff that's real. Because then what you gonna see around it? You know it's real. And you may think it's nasty. No, that's the real stuff. Because they're looking for something to eat. You know, that's what you should be running to instead of running away from it. Talk about, oh, it stinks and this and that. No, that's a rotten fruit. Think about it. The genetically modified stuff never goes bad. It takes months for that stuff to go bad.
And stay there. Sure.
Months.
It's true.
Think about it. You know, so go back to Joshua.
Joshua 1:13.
No, where was that? I lost it. 5?
Yeah, Joshua 5. and
No, 12.
12. And the manna ceased on the morrow, after they had eaten of the old corn of the land. Neither had the children of Israel manna any more, but they did eat of the fruit of the land of Canaan that year.
Come.
And it came to pass, when Joshua was by Jericho, that he lifted up his eyes and stood, and behold, there stood a man over against him with his sword drawn in his hand. And Joshua went unto him and said unto him, Art thou for us or for our adversaries?
Right, so now when he looked, he saw this man with his sword drawn. So you knew he was for war, you just didn't know whose side he was on. Mm-hmm. So he's like, listen, are you for us or are you for our enemies? Read on, because now Joshua was a little nervous now. Read on.
And he said, Nine. as captain of the hosts of the Lord am I now come. And Joshua fell on his face to the earth.
Right, so he said, look, as captain of the host of the Lord, am I now come? Because it was told to Joshua and Moses by the Most High that he was going to send his angel with his name in him. We're going to go to that scripture. But this is to show you that this is talking about Yahushua. But this is before he was known as the anointed Savior. But he was like, he's the captain of the host of the Lord. So he's like, he's the top angel. He's the captain of the host. Read on.
Right. And Joshua fell on his face to the earth and did worship and said unto him, What saith my Lord unto his servant? And the captain of the Lord's host said unto Joshua, Loose thy shoe from off thy foot, for the place whereon thou standest is holy. And Joshua did so.
Right, so this wasn't one of those angels like how you read about in Ezekiel, to where they say, look, get up, we're brothers, so and so. He's like, nah, you doing the right thing, like, bow down. He's like, listen, as captain of the Lord of the host, this is what you do. He's like, look, where you standing at now, bro, this is holy ground. So take your shoes off. And that's what he did. He took his shoes off. Because wherever he walked, that was holy. He's like, listen, nah, this is not. So this is showing you, this is Yahushua, but to further prove it's Yahushua, back then, go to Exodus the 23rd chapter.
Say something real quick.
Come.
Right, and that's why the Jews didn't understand what he said before Abraham was
I am.
I am. They didn't understand because he was only like 33, not even 33, he was younger than that. But they didn't understand how he can be before these prophets.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And this is what the brother leading up. He was always there in the spirit.
He was always there for us. It's just he wasn't known as the anointed Savior, But, the prophets knew it. The apostles knew it when they was on the scene. We know it now, And to this day, they're their fathers in reincarnation. They still don't know it. So Exodus the 23rd chapter, start at verse 20.
Exodus 23 and 20. Behold, I send an angel before thee to keep thee in the way.
Right? So it says, I sent an angel before thee to keep thee in the way. So he's letting them know what he's going to do for them in the future. He's going to send an angel before him to keep you in the way, to keep you on course. Read on.
And to bring thee into the place which I have prepared.
Right, and to bring thee into the place which he prepared. What was that place? The land of Israel as it's known today. Read on.
Right. Beware of him and obey his voice.
So look, beware of him and obey his voice. Read.
Provoke him not, or he will not pardon your transgression.
This is, don't provoke him, because he's not trying to pardon your transgression. See, during this time period, he wasn't there to forgive sins. That wasn't his job back then. Why? The law of sacrifice was set up to do that. And the law of sacrifice was just being instituted on a high level because we were about to become this great mighty nation. So that had to be given a chance first. We let him know, like, listen, don't provoke him. He said, look, he's not going to take kindly to you provoking him. You understand? Read on.
Well, he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him.
Right, it says, for my name is in him. So the Most High's name is Yahweh, and his son's name is who? Yahushua. He just wasn't known as the anointed Savior back then. Why? Because we had the Levitical priesthood was set up. And in the Levitical priesthood, you had the laws of repentance as far as how you repented by animal sacrifice. And like how it tells you in Hebrews, only way a sin could be forgiven back then was through bloodshed. And this is why Yahushua died. And Yahushua had to do away with that law of sacrifice by shedding his blood. So now once he shed his blood on the cross, what happened? He was a lamb without spot, without blemish, meaning without sin. There was no animal that was more worthier to sin ever again from that point on up until now, because this was the Son of the Most High who gave his life for us to bring us back to the Most High. So that's why we don't do the laws of sacrifice anymore in this day, because once Yahushua performed that sacrifice and sacrificed himself, no, what cattle or what cow or what bullock or what dove is more worthy or is better than his blood? None.
So this is during the Exodus. God is
This is
sending-
after the Exodus, yeah. And he's leading us into our land. This is after the Exodus. This is going into the wilderness now. You know, I'm sorry. This is going into the wilderness, but he's talking about when we come out of the wilderness and we're going to be led into our land, that he was going to send an angel with us. So Joshua he didn't send it then, because why? He said, listen, that whole generation had to be destroyed for all their rebelliousness. Only Caleb and Joshua went into the land. So when Caleb and Joshua went into the land, and now they get into the heart of these battles, he's going to send Yahushua in to do what? Help clean up and bring everything home. And that's what he was doing. But he was talking about it back then, what he was going to do. And then he finally did it during the book of Joshua, when he sent his angel. So finish that up.
All right, Exodus 23 and 22. But thou shalt indeed obey his voice.
So he said, but if you obey his voice, you know, he said, look, he's not going to pardon your transgressions if you sin, and he's going to slaughter you. He said, but if you obey his voice, read on.
If you obey his voice and do all that I speak, then I will be an enemy unto thine enemies.
So if you do what you got to do, the Most High said, he'll be an enemy to your enemies. Read on.
And an adversary unto thine adversary.
And an adversary unto thy adversary. So just do right, and he's going to back you up 100%. Read on.
Right. And mine angel shall go before thee, and bring thee into the Amorites, and the Hittites, and the Perizzites, and the Canaanites, and Hivites, and Jebusites, and I will cut them off.
Absolutely. So this is what his job was to do, to lead them into the land and start to clean up shop now. Clean up shop, do what they have to do, and that's that. And this is what Yahushua did back then. He was always there. He was always with us, always watching over us throughout history. During the time of Daniel's, with Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego, when you read in the book of the Apocrypha, the books that was taken out of Daniel's, and the king looked in and he was like, well, what do you see? He said, look, I see 3 men in there singing. He said, listen, didn't you put 3 men in a furnace? He said, why do I see 3 men in there singing and the fourth looks like the Son of the Most High? You understand? And when he looked, they was giving praises to the Most High in song in the fiery furnace. Giving praises to the Most High. That whole song of the 3 holy children that's in the Apocrypha, giving praise to the Most High in the fiery furnace. Then they took him out. And what they do, the guys that put them in there, threw them in there. Same thing like with Daniel with the lions then. The Most High shut the lion's mouth up. What happened? When Daniel didn't get eaten, what they do? Well, take these guys up in there and throw them and their families up in there. And the lions break them all to bits. Because these men had faith, and they're examples of what we should be. Like, even when you go over Hebrews 11th chapter, it goes into faith. Like how I was breaking it down earlier, Moses, he left the donut because he wanted the bakery. He didn't want the kingdom of Egypt. He wanted the kingdom of heaven. Like how now America's a delightful place. But who wants the bagel when you can own the bakery? I want the bakery. I don't want the bagel, because the bagel can go stale any day now.
Yeah.
You know, I want the bakery.
Yeah.
I'm making them fresh daily. You know what I'm saying? Daily. Come. Fresh daily. So this is just further proof that Yahushua was always with us, even in the Old Testament. It's just that he wasn't known as the anointed Savior. But we knew that the Most High's name was in him.
And that wasn't his purpose either, right?
That wasn't his purpose during that time, because we had the laws of sacrifice set up. And that had to be given a chance first before Yahushua put himself on the cross. It had to be given a chance first with the nation of Israel because we were just becoming a nation. Then the Levitical priesthood was set up. So the whole priesthood had to be given a chance to succeed before Yahushua did what? Did away with the Levitical priesthood and did away with the penalties of the law through the laws of sacrifice and stuff like that. So that's what happened. But again, and this happened during the time of the unleavened bread. So it's imperative that we go over these scriptures and we examine them and we go into them.
This is serious time, man. I mean, usually a lot of things we see brothers die on the Passover weekend. We see a lot of things. This is serious, man. Like this is really a serious time for the Most High, man. I mean, brother died on Passover.
On Passover, I remember that.
Is he the one that got drunk and ran over someone?
Now that was Palace shot, right?
What moment died on?
Yeah, I remember.
Passover weekend.
That was 4 or 5 years ago now.
Yeah, about a year.
4 or 5 years ago now.
4 or 5 years.
But it's like I said, this is a serious week. Now you're talking about a Rapaya hour. You're talking about the Simeonite who ran it. That's when we
He
got.
died?
No, guy that ran a person over or something. like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You talking about him, but I don't think that was. I can't remember if that was on the Passover.
Oh, he ran somebody over.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he killed somebody, something like that.
Yeah. It's serious though.
This is,
It's a serious
yeah,
time.
yeah, definitely. So you really wanna like I said, stay on point. You really wanna evolve your spirit. You just don't wanna, just be here and just be a student all your life. You wanna absorb this word and eventually teach it. So you got any more questions, brother?
Not now. Not right now.
So that's about it on that. I mean, like I said, I can go all night, but I can go all night and just go home after that. But we're gonna close up on that. And any questions after, we just rap about it.
Right.
Oh, I remember you were teaching me something about which I'd never seen it that way before. You were telling me something about when Jesus was teaching that Elijah or Elias' spirit was in John the Baptist. Remember when I met you?
Oh yeah. It said, remember they said Elijah has truly come
Was
already.
it Elias or Elijah?
Same person.
Okay.
Same person. It's just translated from a different language.
Okay.
Right.
So when Jesus was on the cross and the people thought he cried out for Elias, it's the same.
You talk about Elijah, yeah. They were talking about referring to Elijah.
Right.
Right.
But yeah, John the Baptist. Remember we said before the great day of the Lord comes, Elijah must come before that great day of that Lord. You see what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
we were just going into the spirit, like the brother was saying before. It's heavy, man, because they didn't understand that. They didn't understand when he was saying
Right.
Elijah has come already. He said, "How Elijah has come already?"
And they did what they wanted to do with him. That's what he said.
Right.
They said they did what they wanted to do with him. And they didn't realize that was Elijah.
Right.
Referring to John the Baptist.
Right. So, I mean, the brother was asking on Wednesday out there, he's talking
Okay,
about
come.
reincarnation.
Come, yeah.
Because he didn't know that we deal
That
with
we
that.
did- yeah, definitely,
We deal
definitely.
with the spirits.
Nah, definitely. Like with that's crystal clear. That Elijah was John the Baptist. Because, Yahushua brought the Savior, brought that out. The Lord
Right.
say he brought it out. Look, listen, he gave it. Listen. Elijah was already here. And they didn't realize it because the Pharisees and the Sadducees, they were blinded. They were blinded. And they couldn't see anything because it just wasn't meant for them to see. And that's why Christ always spoke to them in parables. Because they weren't worthy of that word. And Christ said, cast not your pearls to the swine. And that's why he always got on them, like, listen, if you're not sick, you don't need a physician. So I don't need to deal with you. I talk to you in parables, but I'm gonna talk to them and give them the keys to the kingdom of heaven.
Yeah.
So that's how it was.
But Yahushua was really, being funny with them hypocritical in a sense because they needed a physician.
Come,
But they was acting like they didn't, like they was,
Yeah.
they had all the answers.
come.
And he knew they didn't have no
They
answers.
had no clue.
They had no clue.
No clue.
And that's the humbleness that, the brother talks about. A man thinks he's something.
And he's really
and
nothing,
he's nothing.
And that's why you're always supposed to be obeyed. Like, supposed to stay lowly. You don't want to get all high and mighty, man.
Right.
That's a recipe for destruction and eternal damnation.
Yeah.
A lot of men, like thinking about that,
Yeah.
a lot of guys, man.
Okay, Johanna, a sister told me, a brother told me that his picture is all over the Passover. Like his big picture of him on the Passover. The Passover is supposed to be on the Mount Zion.
Right, definitely.
Why you got your big picture up there?
That's crazy. But see, that goes back to that man pleasing move that stemmed from one West.
Yeah.
And and it's like I say, man, it's just certain people that would just knowing their track record.
Yeah.
I just would never,
Yeah.
And he's one of them, so
Yeah.
never.
Yeah. I mean, it's all about lifting up the Lord.
Come.
We just servants. But if you look at the disciples, every time they always took themselves out of the picture and said, "This is of the Most High. This is of Yahweh Shai.
Come,
If He be lifted up,
come,
I should draw all men to you."
come.
That's the key.
That's
Not
the
if
key.
you be lifted up, but if He be lifted up. Men don't understand that.
It's man pleasing ways, man.
Yeah.
Man pleasing ways.
You always got to lift up the Lord, man. You know what I mean? Because we fall short. There's no man that sins not, that does good on the earth. No man. But if you keep Him lifted up, then you'll be all right.
You'll be too wild, man.
Yeah.
And he'll work with you. Like
Yeah.
he'll definitely work with you out. If you work with him, he'll work with you. He tells you wisdom. Wisdom is always with us throughout all our lives. It walk with us through crooked ways. And it kind of serves. You know how you're out there in that world, you're like, I get out of this jam. But then you come in the truth, you realize, wisdom is with you, just watching over you, seeing how you was operating. But then as soon as you come in that truth, then it's like she starts to work with you and mold you and clean you up, straighten you out. They'll test you and try you in the beginning just to see if you're worthy. And that's why wisdom is compared to a woman, because the same way how a man is supposed to love his wife, we're supposed to love wisdom. And that's what irks me with brothers, and I tell brothers all the time, like even with small things. It's like, here it is. Brothers so quick to want women to serve them food, right? Because they're women, so they figure that's their job. But but you're not serving your house shop. But you want your woman to serve you. Or you want women to serve you in general. But you don't want to serve. Because there's an order. The order is not man and woman. The order is the Most High, Christ, man, woman. Christ did his job. He did his job. He died for us to bring us back to the Most High. The problem is the brothers. You understand what I'm saying? It's not the sisters. Because, these men that have these issues with these women, or they feel that
Master
woman,
servant.
It's their servant, and she's always supposed to be in servitude mode. Listen, man, Judith was a warrior. I don't know a lot of cats that's cutting the joke head off, but she did. She was a warrior. Simeonite, which is the Dominicans today, she cut a cat head off. The top general Holiness cut his head clean off. I'm acting like I'm gonna lay with him, get him drunk up. That was a power move right there. That you're not asking her to cook for you. She may have your head off. You know what I'm saying? But what I'm saying is because, so many brothers, like I said, they want that servitude from their woman or a woman to just do basically let the woman serve us.
Without doing their part.
But are you serving your house shot that way? Are you serving your house shot the way you want your woman to serve you?
Yeah.
Because that's the order. And when you're in order with your house shot, your woman's going to serve you. And that's what brothers just don't get. And you know, it's a testament to it now.
And she'll do it with sincerity because she sees what
You're doing.
Yeah.
You understand? And that's what brothers gotta realize.
Because women know how to not only organize, but they know how to. They're all about teamwork. That's what women are. One thing they're good at is teamwork.
Absolutely. Like me and some brothers, we had a big debate. A big debate. It was some older brothers with a couple of younger brothers. And trying to explain to them, like, listen, because their thing is, yeah, well, men mature faster than women. I was like, I don't see that. I was explaining to brothers, where do you see that at? I said, I just don't see it. And he was trying to just base it off of because he's in the truth, and the man is the strong vessel, the woman is the weaker vessel.
Even when
but let me explain. It's like, and I'm like, listen, men don't mature faster than women. I said, let's take it from a worldly perspective, right? I said, from a worldly perspective, you have men, you have women. The average 21 to 25-year-old woman is looking for a husband, you know, or ready to settle down, have kids, whatever the case may be. The average 21 to 25-year-old man, they're not trying to settle down. They're playing video games, they're clubbing, they're with their homeboys, the whole 9 yards. But the average brother's not trying to settle down. I said, not only that, so a lot of these, the average 21 to 25-year-old man is living with his mama. To where the average 21 to 25-year-old woman, they're making power moves on how to get out their mom's house because the hormones are kicking into, you know, territory. So they're trying to make moves. You know, the average 21-year-old man to 25-year-old man, he's living on his mom's couch, chilling, ain't not trying to go nowhere. You know, and we just bringing out so many scenarios just to show, listen, women just mature faster than men.
So like that's what you say in this society, they push the woman more like the average, the brother economically is more, you know, economically he is more against it, but he's not going to be able to move out of his mother's house.
You know what it is?
You said they push the woman more on a mature level than the man?
No, you know what it is? From what I see, it's not that the average brother can't get out of his mom's house. He don't want to get out of his mom's house. You know what I'm saying? He don't want to get out of his mom's house because of certain freedoms that he has.
And
like
mothers make their sons feel like kings.
Absolutely.
So if you're in the palace, why would you want to leave?
Absolutely.
Go struggle on your own.
Right, definitely. You know, until they finally got to push their behind down.
Jamaican mothers are good at that.
You know,
Italian mothers are good at that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mediterranean mothers
are good at that.
Good at that.
Yeah.
They know how to make you feel that.
To where with the woman, you know, and the reason why it is also like that because women are nurturers by nature.
Yeah.
Once they have a child or they're just pregnant, all of a sudden their whole mind frame changes, and now they know, boom. You know, I got to do this. I got to find a place to stay. I got to do this. I got to do that. Hold on. So certain things isn't always based off of. It's not always based off of them holding us back. Certain things are just naturally that way, and that's why you see a lot of young women dealing with older men. And then when you ask them why, guys my age acting mature, and now we'll understand why all my homegirls my age was dealing with older dudes. They're like, yeah, you just wanted to hit it. You know what I'm saying? That was their whole thing. Like they're looking on a marriage tip. You just want to hit it.
They wanted stability.
You understand? They wanted stability. So then they'll deal with a cat. They'll deal with a cat 5 to 10 years older. And that's why a 40-year-old person could get a 40-year-old brother can get a 21-year-old female.
How about my dad at 47 and a 19-year-old?
Absolutely. And she'll love him. She'll have his children. and because she knows he's gonna provide.
Her mother encouraged her too.
Absolutely, because she's like, you better get with that. You better get with that.
Because women know, they have a sense of what is
Absolutely.
stable.
Because why? The 21 to 25-year-old man, he's probably got about 20 video games, 20 video cartridges in his house, about a closet full of sneakers. He's not thinking like how the young woman is thinking. And that's why, like, most younger women, they want to deal with older men, like at least 10 years older than them, because they know, and it's gotten worse because the black man's mentality now, that whole generation right there in their 20s to their early 30s, they're all fagged out. So now these young women looking for men in their late 30s going to their 40s that have some type of values.
I support that when you say we should. Well, I support giving women a lot more respect because they are our first teachers.
Yeah, absolutely. They're
First of all,
nurturers. The first 2 years,
nurturers and teachers.
Yeah. The first 2 years, the men and every child is with their mother for the first 2 years of their life, learning basic things, how to walk, ABCs, ear, nose, eye, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
That they're learning that coordination, things like that. They're learning that, and they're learning that in the womb. They're not just learning it outside; they're learning that in the womb, and that's why they're so attached to the mother. They know the mother's scent and everything, so they're learning all that stuff in the womb. And then especially if they're getting breastfed, then that's another ultimate connection that they have with their moms. So it's a lot of dynamics, and so bringing all this stuff out to brothers, then they started to see, you got a point there, because they're made to be more mature. When a man's out there, the woman has to be able to hold certain things down at home, while the man's out there making money and doing this and doing that. But I say that not to glorify the woman, but it's like my whole thing is the way Israelite men want these women to serve them. They act like they're really serving Yahushua that way. And they're not. Because that's the order. The Most High Yahushua, man and woman. So, men can't get mad if their women rebel to a degree. Because they're looking at you like, well, look, dude, you're supposed to be out in camp today. You're not even in camp. You know what I'm saying? Well, you're supposed to be doing this. You're not even doing this. You're not stepping up. But you want me to serve you like you're the king, but you don't want to serve the king. You want to half step with the king, but you want to enforce his rule on me, but not on you. You know what I'm saying? And brothers got to come out of their mind frame.
I mean, look, even from a worldly point of view, you see the pimp or whatever, you say that the quickest way for a woman to lose respect for you is when you don't do what you say.
Absolutely.
You gotta do what you say and mean what you say.
Absolutely.
And if you don't, that's the quickest way a woman, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's on a wicked level, but on a righteous level, it's the same thing.
Same thing. Yeah.
She's gonna watch you every step. If you say something, you don't do it, that's when she's gonna lose respect for you.
And then you barking out them same orders to her
Right.
on a different level that you're not doing.
Right.
How can you respect that? I can't respect that. I hope you want me to do this, but then you're not doing that.
Yeah.
So it's something to think about.
Yeah.
So much to learn.
Absolutely. Forever learning.
Well, we're coming to the truth. Never learned it, never coming to the truth.
Right.
We're coming to the truth. That's why the Bible says knowledge puffers up too.
Right.
Gotta be humble with this knowledge, man. You gotta be humble.